Welcome to the Wolfkeeper, a show that's just about everything that you can maybe think about, everything that you can feel that's inside of your heart. What I need for you to do right now is spend the next hour relaxing. Just stop your day before you go into 12 o'clock. And I just want y'all to close your minds, open your hearts, and relax and go on this journey with me. It's a beautiful place that you're about to go, because I want to make you feel, I want to just open you up and think about some things you never really thought about right now. The Wolfkeeper. Come on. Good morning, y'all. Come on. It's the Wolfkeeper Show. Get ready. Come on, let's go. Yeah. Woo. Yeah. It's the Wolfkeeper Show. Your boy, Toriano Sanzoni. Yeah. Chanelli Nell. My boy Tyrone Scott somewhere rocking the Doogie Dogs. Denzel's in his house. Shacky Shack. And for all the people out there that love us, we love you back. Thank you all. Get ready for an amazing show with the Wolfkeeper. Get ready. Here we go.
Everyone out there that love us, we love you back. Toriano Sanzoni, the Wolfkeeper. That's a big howl for Amy Rice Pickett. Man, I love you. How you feel?
I am great. It's great to see you.
You look amazing. You look great.
Thank you.
I'm so happy to be doing this show with you. It's going to be a super exciting show. It's an important show. It's a bold show. It's a brave show because you are just bringing a lot to the table. Because I've been knowing you for probably at least 10 years.
Well, at least 12 years.
At least 12 years.
Probably, yeah.
For sure. Well, maybe
That's a long time.
A long time ago.
I was actually just thinking with New Year's coming up, I was remembering New Year's with you and that amazing gumbo that your grandma made.
Oh, wow. So this has been at least, my grandmother was, so it's been at least 12 years in. Wow.
With those giant crab legs in it. It was amazing.
Oh.
Grandma hooked it up.
Oh, you just broke my heart. Wow. That's at least, that's 12 or 13, man. But when we met through my Aunt Tamara, thank you for your service because you are a first responder. You're a registered nurse. At the time, you were doing labor and delivery. and I will never forget. You came to my store in Jefferson Park with these two little boys and a bulldog. He was like
a crazy bulldog,
bulldog that was trying to eat everything. I just remember sitting there like, this brave soul, because they're like, your kids were like jumping on literally like jumping on my desk. They were on the table like, you have some active boys.
And then I had two more after that. Can you believe it? All four boys.
That's your main focus. You can only make boys. So you got like four boys. You had this bulldog, and that's the cool thing with, like, I love why I do this podcast, because like I like sharing this. One day I was just sitting like, wow, I know a lot of amazing people and that have gone from being just a client to client friend to just, we've been like great friends. I can say best friends. I can say that we've talked on the phone many hours. We have put many hours on cell phones. Yeah. That was the tragedy that happened with your son. That's what we want to talk about today. In grief and people losing people that they love due to suicide. My first experience with that was my high school sweetheart, Alicia Moore Jennings, when she took her life after coming back from service. She was in the Air Force, and she took some pills and took her life. And since then, unfortunately, this year, a friend of mine, Chemo World, took his life in May, because depression is real, fear is real. The thing for people to get to that point of wanting to not be here anymore is real. And I wanted you to share your story with us.
Oh, thank you. Well, I don't talk a whole lot about suicide prevention, but I do want to talk to people about the topic of mental illness and what kind of leads people to that suicide. And so, like you were talking with your friend that was a first responder, I live in Colorado Springs, and we have a lot of military people here. And so we see suicide is very high here in Colorado for a couple of different reasons, I believe. But I'm so sorry, I just lost my train of thought. But we have part of the high rate of suicide here is because of post-traumatic stress disorder that our military personnel experience once they come home from being overseas or serving our country. So it's a difficult thing, and I think a lot of people don't believe that mental illness is real. I think a lot of people, I hear frequently, I personally myself have suffered for a long time from depression and anxiety and post-traumatic stress disorder from things that occurred as a child. Okay. And so this is something that's just really real. When I talk about that, then I can begin to tell you my son's story and what he had gone through. My son had started having depression when he was around 11 years old. And that was the first time in his life that he ever mentioned that he wanted to take his life. Was at 11. And we kind of were wondering, he had been diagnosed as a type 1 diabetic, so we thought maybe that was what was going on. Time went on, and the depression still remained, and he was trying to do things to work on that. And my son was kind of running with the wrong crowd and got himself into a situation where he was out with some friends, and apparently the friends had lost some money. My son gave them whatever they had lost while they were in the store, and when they got in the car, the boyfriend and the girlfriend who were in the front seat, my son was in the back, began to fight. And long story short, it was very, very bad situation, and I won't go through that that whole thing that happened, except to tell you that, the whole time that they were fighting and driving and things were happening, my son was calling me and crying for me to help him. He couldn't see anything, and he just kept, I remember him telling me that her face was bloody.
Wow.
Following that situation, we went home.
Boyfriend and the girlfriend fighting then in the car.
Yes, the boyfriend and the girlfriend were fighting. My son at one point did try to pull her off at one point, which is she had attacked him, and so our phone calls were dropping and picking back up. He couldn't see where he was because she had broken his glasses. So when I was asking him when he was crying for help, and I would say, "Where are you?" he just kept saying he didn't know. And I remember at one point telling my son to just jump from the car. We went home that night and we filed a police report. And that was on a Saturday. The following Tuesday, I received a call from the police who wanted to have my son come down. They wanted to speak with him. And because we had already, and they had told me they wanted to speak to him in regards to an assault that had happened that weekend, and told me basically that there were people that saw the car swerving, saw them fighting, saw the girl bleeding. So more than one person had called the police and reported the license plate number. They eventually tracked the car down to this young lady's father, who then got them connected to the girl. She had severe injuries, and she and the boyfriend together created a story that my son was the one who had attacked her.
Wow.
And so we, despite having, the police report from the weekend, the very night that this all happened, from her attacking him, we filed this because I had told my son, God forbid if something happens to her worse tonight, I don't want you to be responsible for this. And so, yes, on that Tuesday, I got a phone call, and I told them that we wouldn't talk without a lawyer, but I would bring my son in if they had issued a warrant. And so that night, I did take my son, just a little piece of him. He, as I said, he was a type 1 diabetic. And my son was about 5'10", 120, 125 pounds, very thin. He was a sensitive, caring person, and he had a puppy tattoo on one arm and a dolphin tattoo on the other. He said it was for me because I love dolphins. And so my son was terrified. He was terrified of jail. He was terrified, like, what is happening right now? I didn't do anything. And so I remember the next day we were able to bail him out and pick him up. And following the entire situation, he had so much PTSD, not just from the night that everything occurred, but also the night that he went to jail. I remember him talking a lot. He was very fearful of police after he went to jail. He was afraid of getting pulled over. He was afraid of going to jail. And when I would try to ask him, why he was so scared if something happened, he said nothing had happened to him, but that they treated him as if he was guilty. And so, in the sense of he didn't have anything horrible happen to him, he did say that they just really pushed him around. They treated him as if he was a total criminal, just kind of talked to him as if he was trash. And he told me he would never, ever, ever go back to jail. We did hire a lawyer, of course, and when we went to court, my son ended up being charged with second-degree felony assault.
Wow.
19 years old.
Wow.
And so he was looking at 9 to 12 years in prison.
Wow.
When I talk about the mental illness and I say, you know, he had suffered depression since he was younger, the events of at that time really exacerbated that. And so I remember him, if he would see police cars, he would get scared. His brother and I would have to reassure him in the car, it's okay, it's okay. Nobody's going to hurt you. He would wake up crying in the night. Her face is bloody, her face is bloody, help, mom. And so from that moment or that time period, he didn't know how to numb that pain or how to get through that fear, the anxiety of what's happening next. And so my son began to drink. He had smoked marijuana since he was younger. It was something that we had gone through with him. But he began to drink, and then he began to take pills. And of course, this was not good with his diabetes. And he just continued down that path. He would try and get psychiatric help. He was in a hospital about every 3 months the last year and a half of his life for suicide attempts. And on April 1st of 2019, my son went out and he drank with a friend, and he came home very intoxicated. And I, having 3 other boys at the dinner table eating, said, I won't have you here like this. And my son left. He hit someone, another person in a car, and he then knew that he was going to be in trouble with the law as far as a DUI on top of his felony. They took him to the hospital from the scene of the accident, and then they transferred him the following day to a psychiatric facility where he spent 1 week exactly. And I remember that day that I picked him up, that following Monday. Within 3 hours of being home, he had tried to take his life. And so he was having probation the following week. He was very fearful that they were going to arrest him. I had told him when he came out of the hospital, because of the drugs and the alcohol, that I couldn't have him in my home with his brothers, and that he had to leave. And so following, when I brought him home, and then within a few hours he had tried to hurt himself, I didn't let him leave, and I had him stay home. And he had asked me if he could stay home, and he kept telling me that he wanted to stay home because he wanted to spend time with his family. He says he knew he was going to jail the following week, and he just wanted to be able to spend time with us. He spent that last week at home. He spent a lot of time trying to spend quality time with his brothers and I. I later learned that he spent a lot of time posting on Instagram to people that he really cared about and loved. And 1 week later, the following Monday, my son was scheduled to go to probation, and this was the day that he was afraid that they were going to take him to jail. And as I said, I myself have suffered from my own depression, and I had to leave to go to an appointment because I also was trying to deal with that. And I gave my son a hug goodbye, and I told him that I would be back in a little while and that I would take him to his appointment. And when I was gone, he sent me a text message and said that he was going to have his friend take him to the appointment. And I never realized that that would be the last time that I hugged my son before I walked out the door that day. He took an Uber to a motel. We believe that he spent the day at Garden of the Gods alone, trying to seek peace. That were living in Colorado, the mountains were his place where he would go. He had special places, and so Garden of the Gods was very close to where he was staying that night, and so we believe he did spend the day there. He was not in his room. He was missing that entire evening. Let me back up for 1 second. I had a bad feeling, that gut feeling that you have as a parent. And I sent my son a text message that morning telling him that I wanted him to know that I loved him so much and that I was proud of him, and that no matter what happened with probation that day, I know his heart and I know who he was, and I know that he was not capable of hurting anyone. My son called me right away and he said, "Mom, are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm fine." And he said, "No, Mom, you're crying." And I said, "Well, yes, I don't believe you're going to jail today. But if you are, I really wanted to hug you one more time before you go." And he said, well, he didn't want me to go with him. He didn't want me to see him if he was arrested. He didn't want me to go through that. However, he had told the friend that he told me was taking him, he had told her that I was taking him. As I said, we believe he spent the day at Garden of the Gods, and that evening he went back to his motel room and began the process that would eventually take his life.
Wow. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Amy.
He, as I kind of talk about mental illness and PTSD, the trauma that our family has suffered following this loss has been indescribable. People will often say to me, "I can't imagine." And I say, "I can't imagine either." I still just don't know. Tomorrow will be 20 months since my son has been gone. He was my best friend. You knew how sweet he was.
Yeah.
Huge lover of bulldogs. Huge lover of bulldogs. He,
Do you think
his dog actually was his peace.
when
His
you
dog was. Go ahead.
well, a thing that touches my heart and made me so sad when I first heard the story of the fear he had of police officers, because obviously you hear all the time, you know, black kids or brown kids, you know, are afraid of police officers, and there's many that are unfortunately locked up because of something they didn't do. And knowing your son since he was a baby, you know, since he was a small little kid crawling over my desk, I don't feel like there's any way possible that he could have done such an atrocious crime. But, you know, for people out there that are struggling with people that might be on that verge, you know, of knowing someone that might be in trouble, knowing someone that, like at that point in time, obviously he was super fearful, and he had attempted suicide before. I mean, I don't even know if there's a question for there. I'm just thinking like, wow, like, I'm just thinking for myself. I'm thinking out loud too, the people I know that have committed suicide that haunts me. Like, was there something I could have said differently? Is there one more thing I can text? Is there one more time I could have met with them? Which I know it's not about you, it's not about me, but it's still you can't help but replay that tape of in the details every day. You play it.
Right.
More details. And thank you for sharing, because it's the most detail you've ever have told me. We've talked.
I can say, I think your question is kind of, what if a friend comes to you and is feeling this way, what do you do? What do you say? A lot of times there's really not anything. A lot of times the people that are feeling that way because they just feel like no one is listening or no one's hearing them. I can say that from my own suicidal feelings and depression, anxiety. I don't think that it's something that anyone could ever say to me. No one has ever been able to say to me, don't do this, XYZ, your children, and one of those reasons is that when you're in that place, you feel like you're such a bad parent that you can reason with why it would be okay for you to leave this world. So I guess to answer your question, there's really not a lot that you can say, but be there. And if you are the kind of person that doesn't understand depression, that's never felt that's never couldn't comprehend suicide or that thought, I really suggest you connecting them with someone who does understand that. It's a feeling of not being heard. It's a feeling also, though, of fear of telling people what you're feeling. When you suffer the anxiety, the PTSD, the nightmares, the things that go on, the darkness that can be in your head can cause so much shame for a person that's another reason why is that they don't feel they can share that with anyone because we're afraid someone will judge us. If I was to tell you some of the darkest things that have gone in my mind, you would think, holy moly, how is that woman a nurse? So, but it's things that, because I suffer that mental illness, there are dark thoughts that I really have to fight and try to overcome. So I think connecting your loved ones, your friends, anyone that you meet that you feel maybe feeling that way, connecting them with someone else who understands that, who can listen and allow them to share those feelings without judgment.
That's so true. And when you said that, what went through, I'm glad I asked that question, because what went through my mind was me saying that, I feel you, and I witness you. I feel you. I always have when you told me that. The day before any of this, when you came in there, this mom with these kids and this dog, that you love this dog. And that's the thing that I love my job, because you love this dog so much that you, with no money, came in no time, not even the money, time that you still dedicated to, like, I need to get this dog trained. You know what I mean? Like, kids, but I gotta get this dog trained. I need help.
Dogs are life. Dogs are life. We got a puppy after my son passed, and we couldn't get by without her. The amount of comfort that she's given to the kids and I has been great. But even speaking with other moms who have gone through this, there are several of us within the last year that have went and gotten puppies, and we've just said how amazing, how healing they are. And so I love what you do, and I can understand how you're passionate about it, because the love and the comfort and the healing that a dog can give is just, it's unbelievable. It's beyond what we're capable of doing as humans, I believe.
And I feel like you always had dogs in your life. So I feel like even back then, when you had this sweet boy, that would go on, unfortunately, and take his life. But I feel like even then, like, your dog was helping you, because because dogs just show us a different level of compassion. I'm not just saying this, I would never just say this, but I really admired you, because I knew that you didn't have the money and I knew you didn't have the time. You were full-time
nursing student.
Nursing student, which that's no joke. You're at this prestigious hospital. You got these two little boys that were just active, super excitable boys. I'll never forget, they were physically on my desk. I'm like, this poor woman, you know, here you are, and I need this dog trained. Like, but then
it's not an exaggeration that I came home to bulldogs in the bathtub before.
No, right. I mean,
they're total boys.
Right, and then here you are, fast forward now with 4 of them. You know what I mean? One that you are going through all this different, things, but to get them to this point, and you brought a dog back in your life, and I know that you shared with me your own depression that you've gone through and things that you've gone through with your own parents, and how you really, we know that dogs are medicine. We know that dogs are love. That's how you and I are even together. That's why I do these podcasts to show people that this is so far beyond dog training. Like, I spend a lot of time having one-on-one. You and I have talked hundreds of hours for sure, from the time from Chicago to California to Denver to all over. We talk so much, but when you talk about your bulldog now that you have and losing your son, that made me cry when that day you called me up and that was so sad and tragic. How's for people that don't really understand how a dog, because they just say a dog and it's so far beyond a dog, but how it's helped you in this process of losing. I can't, like you said, it's unimaginable. I can't imagine losing one of my children at such an early age. But how's that helped you, and how's this little puppy help your other 3 boys?
Prior to my son even passing, we not long before he passed had been looking at getting a dog for him that we could train as a service dog for him to have with him at times when he is out, when he goes through that complete panic if he sees a police officer, or he one time witnessed a car accident that brought back some things. And so that was one thing that we were working on. But he did have his English bulldog that was named Cash. And I don't think you ever got to meet Cash. But, oh goodness, Cash was such a huge part of our family. And a lot of times I remember Avery feeling very alone. And so he would take the time and he would go skateboarding and have Cash running alongside of him. And, I say I was his best friend, but I know the bulldog was. I had no intention of getting a dog. And we ended up going with my niece to look at puppies when she was in town. And it ended up that they were Old English bulldogs. And this dog looked exactly like the dog that we were going to get for my son as a service dog. And even further than the place where this dog was at the bottom of my son's favorite mountain. And so I just felt like he had completely guided me there. And so we got our sweet little girl. And I named her, my children wanted to name her Bella, and I said all dogs are named Bella. So my son's middle name was Charles, and as she was a little girl, I thought it would be cute to name her Charlie Bell. So she's our Charlie Bell. As a mama of 4 boys, I love to dress her up. And she is just completely spoiled. She gets dinner cooked for her every night. So, but, she's there when I'm sad. She feels it. She knows. She'll come and lick the tears off my face. She will pull her little head into my neck and just cuddle up with me. The boys think that it's so fun to snuggle with her as well. I just posted something, I think, on Instagram recently. My son was sharing blueberries with her in the morning. He's 10. And he was sharing blueberries, and he would give her a blueberry, and he would eat a blueberry, and then they would kiss each other, and then more blueberries. And it's just so sweet. It's a joy. Of course, when you lose a family member, any family member, there can be such a quietness or emptiness in your home. And she brought so much laughter and so much warmth, and she's kept us moving. We know that physical activity is good when you're depressed, and so she's kept us out, playing ball and running, and I could just go on forever about the things that she has done for us, but she's been wonderful.
Mm-hmm. And that's, we know that the power, dog owners and dog parents know that dogs have that power to change and to transform. But, listening to you talk, and someone just mentioned the other day about their dog going in right here on their neck. Because they definitely truly know. I gotta just thank you again for sharing this story. And then can you, because it's such a powerful story, such an important story, it's a brave story, because there's people that are going through it as we speak today that won't make it out of this day. So I hope that everyone that hears this, finds a level of bravery like you to share this, to use this as an opportunity to open up conversations with family members or friends, and for people just to reach out to people if they think they need help, or even if you don't think someone, just check in on people, period, because you never know where someone's at, and just saying, like, I see you, I witness you, and like, hey, if you need help, stranger. I wanted to talk to you about the efforts that you and some of the other moms that you've met, in this journey, what you all are doing, and how this tragic circumstance now is made you basically you've created a company, a nonprofit, helping other people that are going through similar situations. Can you tell me about that?
Yes, I was contacted actually by my life insurance agent after my son passed, and she said that she had read in the newspaper that they were having a retreat for women that had lost a child in the Colorado area, actually up at Estes Park. And so I was lucky enough to be able to go to that retreat. And my son had passed away in April. The retreat, I believe, was September. And it was the first time I really got to cry and grieve my son and let it out. And I think there were probably at least 100 of us women there that had lost a child to several different things. And the grief process has been so different for each of us. But I've seen the moms that seem to be doing the best, which we all have learned to put on a very beautiful fake smile. But feel that we're doing better when we're doing something in our children's name. And I know specifically some of us that have lost our children to suicide are doing things that our children were passionate about. And it helps us knowing that we are helping other people. There's no better way to heal than to help someone else. And so we feel that we're helping someone else, but we're doing something in our child's name. And it's something that we know that they will never be forgotten. Such a huge fear of parents is that their child will be forgotten. So in this, as I said, I've met some moms who do great things. A couple of them, their children were very passionate about the homeless and helping the homeless. And so they have bags that they prepare and keep in their car, and they pass those out regularly. And so my boys and I have, every time I meet with these moms, I grab several bags, and my boys and I will drive around downtown Colorado Springs and pass these bags out. And it's been amazing. So not only is that mom kind of healing herself, but she's allowing us to heal as well, and also helping, the homeless. So for myself and my own personal journey, one of the things that has been the most difficult for me has been that I haven't had the opportunity to truly grieve my child. And as I said, he passed in April, and that fall was the first time I was able to really, really cry. And the reason for that is that I'm a single mom with 3 other boys. And I work as a home health nurse, so I have a lot of freedom and ability to make my own schedule. However, if I don't work, I don't get paid. So my job has been amazing, and I could go on about that. But for myself, I had to get right back to work. And so we took my son from Colorado. We had his body sent back to Nebraska. And so within a week and a half, I had learned that my son had passed, taken him to another state, done all the funeral things, and gotten back. I believe we got home on Thursday, and my other son had prom on Friday. And it was such a whirlwind week. And the following week, I was back to work. And that is very humbling because I work with pediatric children, and I'm able to come in and see that no matter what I'm struggling and no matter what I'm going through, these children have faced challenges every day of their life that they didn't ask for, you know. So I have had the ability to do some grieving while I'm at work. You know, being in a home is much different, and being in a home with parents of special needs children, they understand the possibility of that loss and can really relate to me in that sense. And so that has been wonderful. And so for the nonprofit that I have created, it is called Seeking Solace. And the reason for it is because I didn't have the time to, I couldn't take that time off of work to grieve because I financially couldn't do that. And I think that can lead to further post-traumatic stress. I think, you know, of course, depression. I think it as a nurse can put people at risk if you can't be in the right state of mind. And so it's very important to grieve your child and to do what you need to do to try to seek that peace. And so Seeking Solace was created to help provide financial and emotional support to parents, families that have lost a child regardless to circumstance or age. But what we are doing is we are providing assistance for parents who don't have the ability to take that time off work, for us to help them out financially so that they can take that time to just take, 4 to 6 weeks to be able to sit back and even try and accept what has happened in their life. We also have a counselor here in Colorado Springs that is donating 2 days for free. Also have a music therapist, a licensed music therapist that is doing classes with individuals, families that have lost their children. One of the things that we want to do in helping people find their peace is to embrace something that they enjoy. And for myself, that's painting. And so I've done a lot of paintings in the last 20 months, but that's another thing that we are offering as well is healing through painting, and people the opportunity to come and do whatever style it is. If you want to throw paint at a canvas and get anger out, whatever it is, but we want to be able to be together as a community. As a parent who's lost a child, no one will ever understand that until they go through that situation. And we need that community here. We are losing children rapidly to suicide in our world, but rapidly here in Colorado Springs. COVID has really increased things with that. We are seeing children as young as 5 taking their lives. And so, as I said, Seeking Solace isn't just for parents that have lost their children to suicide, it's for parents that have lost their child for any reason. But we want to create that community where people can come and they can try and heal. And if they want to talk, they can, to someone who can be quiet and understand. But if they want to just hug and cry, there's someone else who wants to hug and cry too.
And I really appreciate the fact that you've taken the time, that's how I met you 12 years ago, of single mom, 2 kids, a dog. You know, here you are, single mom, 4 children, and a dog, and now you're doing a nonprofit and you're being a nurse. Like, I mean, as being a parent, I mean, children.
I learned how to be a hustler from my friend Toriano.
Oh, thank you. But man, you inspire me, because I mean, parenting is no joke, and you have 4 boys. You're raising 4 boys. You're single, and you have a dog, and then this nonprofit. And my dear friend, he passed. He was only 41 years old, Matt Moss, and we buried him last Friday. And just being at his, seeing his mom, losing a 41-year-old. That's so much. That's so heavy. Like you said, it's indescribable. You mean, as I was sitting there listening to her talk, in fact, I'm going to go see her on Friday. Just this year alone, I mean, I've had about 4 people. Last week alone, 3 people I know died, all my age, our age, in their 40s. So it's for a parent, to lose their child, and whether it's a 60-year-old, 64-year-old losing 40-year-old, or if it's a 40-year-old losing a 20-year-old, is indescribable. So thank you for sharing that. Let me ask you this, are you all at a point where, and you're so brave, but are you at a point where can people contact you and reach people because we've shared your name on there, can people reach out to you to talk about that whole grieving? Like, can my friend's mom talk to you? Is that cool? Like, where people?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And we have, our website is grieveyourchild.org. And we have all of our contact information there, and I would be happy to take any phone calls and talk to anybody, offer any resources that I can. Like I said, I am here in Colorado Springs. However, I'm willing to find whatever resources we can wherever people are to be able to help them. I actually know of another mom in the Chicago area who lost her son about 2.5 years ago. So I know that there are definitely resources everywhere, and those moms, they need other moms, those dads. I don't want to overlook the dads. I recently lost a friend. It was a drug thing that ended up being laced, and lost a friend tragically. She left behind 3 children, and when this all came out, she had recently been found, and it was being investigated, and that was all we were being told. And I had called her father that morning and to talk to him and relay my condolences, and I can't put into words his voice and the fear that he had, knowing that his daughter's death was being investigated as a potential homicide. Just the fear for him, the overwhelming pain of losing his daughter in itself, and also his best friend. They worked together in reality, and I don't want to overlook those fathers, and so seeking solace is for mothers, for fathers, brothers, sisters. We want to be able to help.
Absolutely, and thank you too for bringing light to how important dogs are, or just animals in general. It doesn't have to be a dog; it can be a cat. It can be anything. That's also too is non-judgmental, because times like this, you really need to be able to, like you said, embrace that bulldog, feed it blueberries. Yes. Let it just hang out on your shoulder. And that's the thing that, and also too, animals bring us together. That's why we're here. We met through dogs. I want to thank you so much for today. I mean, can we bring you back like in January to talk about, because I feel like this is almost like something that needs to talk about monthly, because we've been like committed to helping veterans that are suffering from post-traumatic stress syndrome, military sexual trauma, TBI. That we know of 46 vets every day take their lives. That we know of, people like this year. My friend Chemo World, who I went to school with, didn't make it out of this year. And tell them what the stats are going to look like, post-COVID. Like my friend Kayla said, she's more afraid of being at home alone, than dealing with COVID, and what's happening mentally, by being isolated. So we need these conversations. We need to come together as a pack and as a community. And I want to thank you and the moms that are out there in Colorado Springs, that you all are like coming together to take the time to form a nonprofit. That's a lot of work. And anything that we can do to help with, therapy dogs or emotional support dogs moving forward, we're here.
Yes. We would love that. I talked to some of the other mothers about that, and having that offered to families to be able to give them a service dog, or just a dog for comfort, even if it's not a actual service dog. And we all thought, how amazing, because we all said, well, I got a puppy this year too. And so we often share photos of that, and it's great. So thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you so much. And I want hug everybody out there for me. Hug your boys. You gotta come home and visit us.
I know. Well, this morning when I was thinking about New Year's, I was like, what am I going to do for New Year's? What are some of the best New Year's I've had? And I thought about that night, and I was like, oh man, but I know, but it made me sad about Grandma too, because I'm like, but Grandma can't make our gumbo.
Which made me think about how long we've known each other. That was the gumbo New Year. That was for sure. That was like 08, 09. No, actually, I can tell you that was 08. That actually was like 07.
It was actually 07, 08, because I was pregnant with Trenton, and I had him in 08.
That was 07 because my grandmother, she wasn't well in 09. In 08, I had my car accident. So that for sure was like, actually that was for sure 06, 07. For sure. So we've been for a while. So
your family.
I'm giving you a big virtual hug.
Oh, same back to you.
Some more
big kisses.
Energy. Everyone out there, to all your family, your bulldogs, and your first responder. Thank you for your service and for all the first responders during these times. And it's going to be amazing in 2021. I know, because these things aren't going to just be things that just happen and not. They didn't just happen and nothing's gonna come out of it. I mean, I know it affected. I'm too sensitive. You mean like that story? I mean, it stays in my head. And all these stories of people that I know personally that have not made it, through this. Stays in my head, and you stay in my heart. So thank you, and let's we're gonna do some amazing things. Tell the website one more time so we can repost it.
GrieveYourChild.org.
GrieveYourChild.org, and rejoice if you can pump that everywhere out there. GrieveYourChild.org. Thank you for everyone that is listening to this. Reshare this podcast broadcast. I'm on with Amy Rice Pickett out of Colorado Springs, who just shared her amazing story. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Happy holidays, and I definitely will see you soon.
Merry Christmas. Give your mom and Tammy big hugs for me.
I shall. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.